Well, here we have the 2016 Chevy Volt. And listen to that. That's a little bit of noise to let you know that the thing's going to be backing up. So let's get this thing out of the garage. We've got our standard 220 charger here we just disconnected. Same thing that we used when we had the Nissan Leaf. And, well, what can I say? Hello, Chevy Volt. Goodbye, Nissan Leaf. Nissan Leaf, well, it just had some downfalls that we could not continue on with. Do we have a good day here in Santa Barbara? Oh, absolutely. Have we had a Toyota Prius? Yeah, we've had a Prius, we've had the Leaf, and now we've got the Chevy Volt. So let's go check this Chevy Volt out and see what we got. Okay, so what have we got here? What can I say here? This is, maybe we'll do a quick little selfie here. Is that a possibility? I don't know. There's our cruise, and we've got Maria here at the wheel. She is
expert driver,
being so kind to go through my misery again, put her on camera. And we are heading off to Cold Spring Tavern here in Santa Barbara, which is a nice little breakfast place. We're not doing a huge long cruise, and this is Dan Ringwald, the owner of the Personal Power Project, and that's why we're doing this, to kind of go over what this car is about. And this is not going to be any kind of in-depth video on the car. There's plenty of those out there and plenty of details on owner manual, but I just want to go through a few things that I was surprised about this car and why we said hello to the 2016 Chevy Volt and goodbye to the Nissan Leaf. This little turn right here we're going through is a very sharp switchback, and when we were at the car lot, the car salesman, which you probably ought to know that most of the salespeople in the car lots probably aren't going to know that much about the Chevy Volt, the 16. And so if you get wrong information, well, that's just the way it is. We don't all know everything there is to know. But one of the things that I was surprised about in that little turn back there is we had the car salesman come up here and actually let us drive the car up to our house. And when we went through that little turnaround, it normally causes cars to spin their back tires, and that's due to usually the fact that they have rear wheel drive. So I said to the car salesman, oh, I noticed that this thing didn't spin out going around the corner, and the wheels didn't start squealing because it was unbalanced in a very sharp turn. They kind of go up on 3 wheels instead of 4, and that's why the tires start spinning. He said, oh, well, you know, it's a I said, it must be a front wheel drive. He said, no, it's not a front wheel drive. And I said, well, then maybe the batteries are so heavy in the car that it actually makes the car hang onto the road better and doesn't squeal the tires. Well, it turns out that it is front wheel drive, and that's why it goes around turns like that and has such great traction in some of these types of roads where you've got lots of winding roads and crazy things happening up here in the mountains. So that was number one. Number two, he said, well, on the dashboard here, you can plug in this little cord into an iPhone, and you can have the screen on here actually show you GPS and apps, any kind of apps on your phone, but you cannot do that with an Android. Well, actually, he was correct on that from the standpoint that you can't do it today, right now. We're at December 26, 2015, but they are working on an upgrade, and it's just a software upgrade on the car, and once they do, you'll be able to do the same thing with an Android. Right now, an Android and an iPhone can connect to Bluetooth in the car just fine, transfer the music, do the calls on your phone, do everything. But the other part, where
Oh,
if
look
you,
at this.
oh my goodness, little road hazard there, huh? Where if you had the lower model of the Chevy Volt and you didn't have GPS, you could actually use GPS in your phone and have it show up there on the dashboard if you were plugged in down here with a USB. But if you don't need that because you've got the upgraded model and you've already got OnStar, which is up here, then you really don't even need that connection because it's all going to happen with wireless Bluetooth, which works perfect. And so it doesn't really matter from that standpoint. That wasn't a big sales point, but that was just something worth mentioning. Okay, now I spent a little bit of time last night trying to figure out the different modes because I want to be able to explain this a little bit better about the modes of operation. And one of the things that sold me about this car was the fact that it was a very, very quiet ride. As you can see right now, we've got road stuff going on. We do not have any gas power going on in the car. The gas engine isn't running right now. And so it's quiet. If you want to use gas, there's actually a mode button down here, and the mode button has about 3 or 4 different options. So if you look at the dash, on the dash you can switch the mode and it will go from regular to sport. Okay, it's normal, sport, mountain, and hold. And I like to be in the sport mode most of the time just because I like that extra power, and that probably uses the battery the most. But the fact is, we really don't go more than 50 miles a day. She's in the sport mode taking off. You can see this thing's really picking up. You can hear it whining. Woo! And so it's got a lot of pickup. But as we're going up the road, I'm going to go into the hold mode and see if we can actually get
No, you do that
gas.
when you're down the hill before you.
It's okay. It's okay. We're sport mode, mountain mode, hold mode. Now, what you might
It won't go into.
notice is that you don't really hear the gas engine. There's so much insulation under the hood that you just don't hear it. So you can turn in the gas mode anytime you want, and you can see the dash now is a little bit different. And if I switch it back over to sport mode, then we're back into the electric only portion of this. So the big selling point of this car, I'd say number 2 selling point, is the fact that there's not a lot of noise. When we were in the Prius, backing out of the garage, it was very quiet. As soon as you get up a few miles and you hear that very loud motor from the Prius, so there's a big difference in sound in the car from that standpoint. So that's a big selling point. But the number 1 selling point of all this, and why we said hello to the Chevy Volt and goodbye to the Nissan Leaf, was the 80 miles of electric travel. You know, it's a big adventure going someplace with an all-electric car, trying to figure out where you're going to charge and how you're going to plan it and everything you're going to do to make it work. And it's kind of fun and it's kind of an adventure. We did that video already, went up to Hearst Castle. But coming back home was kind of like, you know, we were so done looking for charge stations and standing in line, and is it a broken station? Does it work? Can we get it to charge properly? We just wanted to get home from our little trip. Well, that got old really fast. And we kind of said at the end of that video that when these cars get to the point where they go 300 miles, I'm ready to make a jump to a different model, like maybe or 200 miles to a Tesla Model 3, which still isn't out yet and probably won't be till 2018. They're saying maybe 17. We shall see. But in any case, even if it was 200 or 300 miles, I'm beginning to think that me personally, and of course, you know, when I say this stuff, I don't say it because it's one size fits all for everybody. You know, you pretty much have to pick and choose what works for you. I'm thinking that at least a 400 to 500 mile charge on an electric car would be the sweet spot for me, from the standpoint that I'd be willing to go back and do that, because I would, you know, go 5 hours for a drive and I'd be ready to get out and charge, and I'd want that car to charge up in about 15 minutes. How far are we from a car that'll go 500 miles and charge in 15 minutes? Well, I would guess, at the way things are advancing, maybe 5 years. We're not there yet. And actually, 200 miles isn't enough for me. I really like the fact that we can drive, you know, and not have to worry on a long distance trip all the, you know, hassles of looking for charge stations. It's a pain. It really is. We travel about maybe 30 miles a day most of the time, so 95% of the time we're never going to use gas. In fact, we've had this Chevy Volt for, what do you think now?
Since November 15th.
November 15th? November.
It's December 25th, 6th.
Really? We've only had it for a month?
Yep.
Wow.
A little over a month.
A little over a month. We got some parking here. We're at our favorite little place, Cold Springs Tavern. But one of the things I kind of freaked out about when we got the car was I got to looking at the charge system, and there is a 220 or 110, but there's no fast charge. And I thought, well, wow, that's kind of weird. Why no fast charge? That sounds to me like they went backwards. Well, after I thought about it, I realized I'm never going to use it. If we're on a long trip, who cares about fast charging? We're just not going to charge, period. We're just going to go on a trip, use the gas, and then come back. We're heading off to breakfast. We'll continue this a little bit later. And here we are inside a Cold Spring Tavern, and this is why it's such a great little place to go have breakfast. We're up in the mountains here, just 5 minutes away from our home. And here's one of the rooms of Cold Springs Tavern. And there's Alana, our daughter, and there's Maria, deciding what she's going to have for breakfast. So we'll get back with that little 2016 Chevy Volt story in just a bit. I know you're probably wondering what the food looks like, so you got to see. Huevos Rancheros? Ooh, yum. Breakfast burrito? Mmm. And we've got eggs, and what do we have here?
Biscuits and gravy.
Biscuits and gravy. Okay, so, you know, couldn't go this far without you seeing that. Okay, we are back at it. We just got through the nice breakfast here at Cold Spring. Let's just take a look here. That is where the gas goes in this Chevy Volt. Okay. And of course, over here, we have the charge, and notice on the charge, this is the 110-220, but there is no fast charge like there is on the Nissan Leaf. And again, who cares? Who needs it? I don't plan on charging on any trips. I'll use the gas, and the trips are so seldom, it's just not going to happen very much, and it won't really matter. You know, we've had this car for a month or so, never put a drop of gas in there. So here's a nice little place here, just a little promo for Cold Spring. This is Cold Spring Tavern. You can see there on the sign. Okay, and great little place. It's actually the stagecoach stop, 200 years old, for when people went up over the mountains in Santa Barbara into the next, what would you call it, like mission, from one mission to the next mission, on and on. So this is where they go, Cold Spring Tavern. Great little place. We'll jump back in the car and get a little bit more info on this car, and we'll be done with this video. You had the Toyota Prius.
Yeah.
You've had the Nissan Leaf.
Yeah.
Okay. Now you're driving the Chevy Volt, and I know, oh, they're getting ready for the big thing. Now what happens here at Cold Springs is they have an outside band on the weekend, and they fill the place up here with all kinds of motorcycle people from Los Angeles. They come up here, they reserve this little spot over here for bikes. They got a band out here. Saturday and Sunday it's tri-tip and beer and all kinds of fun stuff going on, and just a great little place to hang out. So now you've had the Toyota Prius, you've had the Nissan Leaf, and now you got this Chevy Volt. And when you first got it, you felt like, oh my God, I don't know if I like this car or not, because it's just too high tech and it feels like I'm driving some kind of spaceship with all these controls, and it's confusing and blah 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 blah. And it didn't really even feel like your car, but now you're starting to like it. What would you say the biggest thing is that you like compared to those other two cars that you've had?
I like everything.
You like everything.
I like that I don't have to worry about the mileage like I did before. I was constantly worried about how many miles I'd used and how much farther I was going to go. Now I don't worry about that at all. I just glance at how, you know, my EV range, and I'm always fine. Once I've come home with 1 mile left, and it would have just switched to gas, but I'm just saying, you know, I like to stay on the electric. But one annoying thing about this, let me just talk about that.
Okay.
It has so many sensors everywhere that it's constantly, not constantly, but it buzzes you like
it's freaking you out.
You know, freaks you out. You know, if I like get, you know, a car stopping in front of me and I know it's kind of slowing down to turn or something, I can see that what's happening, but the car will, like, red lights come on and it beeps and it's like, so it's teaching me to drive a different way, and that was kind of annoying at first. So
in a different
now
way.
I'm
What would you say?
changing the way I'm driving. I'm not getting as close because I know this damn thing is going to beep at me.
Ah, so it's modifying your driving
modifying the way
habits.
I drive, yes. And,
interesting.
because I'd skizzy up close behind someone as they turn, maybe, because, you know I'm going straight and they're turning, and it just starts to make noises and beeps and stuff, constantly showing me people are on the side of me, behind me, and all that's good. But that was totally different. I had to get used to that.
Yeah.
The Nissan Leaf nor the Prius did that.
They didn't do that.
No,
And
they didn't have all those sensors everywhere.
And it's interesting you say that, because I've been in the car a couple times when that's happened, and you've acted like, well, why is it doing that?
But I'm getting used to it now.
And for somebody as a passenger, normally passengers in the car get more afraid of something that's going to happen than the driver does, because the driver knows what's going on and they're doing the driving. So when you say that, I'm already kind of acting like a car, freaking out, going, oh, that's kind of close for me, because I don't have my hands on the steering wheel. So it really is bringing the driver almost back to the level of the passenger, so the passengers don't have to worry as much about what the driver's doing, because the car's telling the driver, hey, if nobody else is going to tell you you're cutting it too close, you really ought to slow down and quit doing that.
Yeah, it's got a little car on here when you're in a certain mode that shows you when you're in the perfect range. It'll be a green car when you're on the freeway or anywhere, and if the car is green on your little dashboard there, then everything's good. But it gets yellow and then it gets red if you get too close to the car in front of you. So it does not show that if there's a car behind you doing that. It just shows what's coming up front. So.
Well, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
So just like the, I think it was Nissan Leaf had the little green Christmas tree on there to show if you were eco mode, this actually shows you different driving patterns.
Yeah.
And tells you whether you're doing a good job of driving or not.
Nothing to do with your electricity.
Eco or whatever.
It's just about safety measures, which are, it's pretty cool. It was annoying at first because I thought, whoa, what the heck? What's this noise? Why is it beeping at me all the time? So then I modified my driving to keep it from making noise at me. It's just Pavlov's dog thing, where it teaches you.
Oh, there's the motorcycles heading off the Cold Springs we were talking about. Well, that's an interesting thing that I've heard nobody talk about on any of the reviews for the...
I've never had that in a car before, so I don't know. Maybe those are new safety features.
Well,
maybe other people are getting beeped at less.
Beeped at less?
She's saying that your driving might be a little squirrely, my dear.
Maybe.
Maybe. Well, that's all a possibility, and all this stuff that's automating the cars and taking over the cars is just going to train us a little bit better to be better drivers until they finally pull the last button and say, hey, you're not going to even be driving the car anymore because it's all going to be autonomous. So we're going to take the back road. Now that's where we came in, was 154 over there, but we can actually avoid that whole Highway 154 going to and from Cold Spring Tavern just by taking the back roads, which is Kennevan. And this Kennevan road is actually after somebody by the name of Colonel Kennevan from back in the, what was it, 1800s? That lived down here, kind of owned the road, and actually had a point where he blocked the road and it was a toll road, and when the stagecoach horse and coach came up here to pass people through, they would have to pass Kennevan, and he would stand out there with a rifle and guard it and make people pay to be able to get in and out of this road. And it was
just like they do on the toll roads in Southern California.
Right, which is all becoming now all automated. He would be out there to make sure people paid. So, interesting information on the Chevy Volt.
I love it.
You do love it now.
I do. At first I felt I was in a spaceship. There were too many controls, too many things to look at and worry about and figure out. And my little Nissan Leaf was like my little hippie bug, you know. It was just, you could just go, get in and go. It was so easy, you know. But this is like a lot more high tech.
And although we haven't had a chance to even try the gas mode.
They paved this.
Oh, yes, they did.
It's all paved.
How about that? Our
Right
little
there.
our little road here is being cleaned up by the city. So for those that are wondering, this is Kennevan Road. This is the stagecoach road where they, use. This was the main road getting up over the mountains in Santa Barbara, which now is just kind of a hidden road. 154 passes it, parallels it actually, and most people have no clue that this thing even exists.
Over Stagecoach Road.
Stagecoach Road. Over to the left, over here is a creek, San Antonio Creek, I think it is. No, not San Antonio. This is.
I don't know what creek it is.
San Jose Creek, maybe it's San Jose Creek. But in any case, there's a nice little creek that runs in the wintertime and dry in the summertime. And big rat nests up there in the trees. And as you can see, there's just lots of trees and no cars.
Things have fallen down from the winds.
And the winds, we've had really high Santa Ana winds. In fact, we've got a fire now in, where was it?
Solomar Beach.
Solomar Beach
down by Ventura.
Ventura is a major fire on the 26th here of December. So we're hoping we get through the, December is usually very, very windy. Oh, here's a car coming up. Now this is very unusual because we very rarely pass a car on this road. 2 cars. How about 3 cars? Ooh, man, this is a big day for this road. Okay. Very surprising.
Okay, come on.
And who knows?
Okay.
Oh, they want to pull over and let you pass them. Okay, how about that? Well, that's unusual. They must be doing crazy things back here. Probably smoking pot. Why is that going on? In fact, just to give you guys an idea what's happening here in the mountains of Santa Barbara, when it used to be illegal, there's getting to be more and more people that have acreage up in the mountains that have legal marijuana things growing, because it's now legal. They've got their license, and you drive by and you can actually smell the stuff growing. It's so thick and so heavy, which is very surprising. One of these places down here was busted probably 10 years ago. 20 years ago, because they had a big pot thing going on that was illegal, and it was a major bust. But now, of course, they're gone. And I think it was this place here that has all the
lobster traps.
But now, and I don't think they're growing pot now, but there are plenty of places around here that you can smell it when you drive by. You're not smelling smoke, you're actually smelling just the smell of
The plants growing.
the plants budding, and it's all legal. It's all being, shipped to places in different towns for
Medical dispensaries.
And, how much of it on the side is going places illegally is another source of income. Well, until we get to become a cashless society, you can bet that there's a lot of that going on too. So, there's a little bit of history for this area here in Santa Barbara. And thank you, Maria, and thank you, Alana, for your help and input on creating this video on the Hello 2016 Chevy Volt Goodbye Nissan Leaf. And I will say about the Nissan Leaf that if the new model, because the new model of the Nissan Leaf is coming out with a really beautiful body style from what it looks like. I think it's called CDI Concept something or other car. Even when it comes out, if it's still only 200 miles, that's not enough for me anyway, or us, to deal with having to go charge up all the time. If that same body style was a 500 mile all-electric car, then I'd probably go back to an all-electric. But until it gets to be about, there's another big thing out in the road, until it gets to be about 400 or 500 miles, I just as soon stick with a range extender. Now, let me say that this car is a little bit low to the ground, and we've gone over rocks that have scraped it, so you got to be careful about that. I would say that if a range extended car was hydrogen, I'd certainly prefer hydrogen over gas, but I wouldn't want to wait for the infrastructure for hydrogen stations to be as prevalent as gas stations. And when they finally are, which might be 5 years, my guess is they might be at the 500 mile point and 15-minute charge on batteries, where you wouldn't need hydrogen anyway, and the game's over. It's all electric. Who would ever go back to anything? That's probably what's going to happen in 5 years anyway. So, I'd be happy to stick with a range extended Chevy Volt for the next 5 years and see what happens when we finally get to that point in life. So there you have it. Thank you for joining this little video. And, well, let's give a plug here for the Santa Barbara Real Estate Investor Association, sbreia.com, and the personalpowerproject.com, and National Homebuyers Investors Group, NHBIG Inc. This is all stuff that is kind of helping sponsor this, because if I didn't have these side businesses, we wouldn't be able to do this anyway. Thank you for joining us. I think we're over and we are out. Well, actually, we're about ready to go through that little spin in that short hairpin turn that we were talking about before. And we'll stop this for just so what we're coming up here on this hairpin turn. This is a hairpin turn that the UPS trucks get stuck, can't even go around. Every car comes around this turn right here, right now, and the tire starts spinning. Lots of problems. Hey, check out these doggies. And this is a front wheel drive car, not a rear wheel drive car. So, it really makes a difference having front wheel drive. So we did have that in the Nissan Leaf. I love it. I love it in the in this car, the Chevy Volt. So there you have it. Thank you so much for making it on this little journey with us. Okay, we'll get a little. We'll end it with a little bit of view here. Now that we made it back home. Home sweet home. Love the view.